After consuming so many stories, I feel that we as authors have these preconceived notions ingrained so deeply into us, into who we are and how we perceive things, that they project themselves into our storytelling as well, which on one hand is obvious. That's what's going to happen. Influence from the outside always happens in terms of creating a story. But if I want my story to be placed in a different world, a completely different universe, why would it then follow the same rules and have the same constrictions as our world has? I do feel quite bad for female characters in fantasy settings, since usually they are portrayed as severely limited in their options, and those that somehow go against these rules imposed on them by our real world, usually historical rules, uh, quote unquote, are a huge exception. Yes, obviously it was rather restricted that way in our history, but would it be the same in a different universe? Is the question that I am now asking myself, as I would like to at least pretend to create a comprehensible story. And it ties to the severe lack of just purely evil female characters in stories. Sci-fi genre is definitely better. In both of those cases, Mass Effect does a great job. It's a great example in terms of great, fully fleshed out female characters fighting and doing anything that a man can do. On the other hand, it's not exactly that great in terms of female villains that would be these endgame villains. We have Saren, we have the Elusive Man, but there are fortunately some that you can pick, since, well, Mass Effect has one entire race that's basically women, so it's hard to not find at least some female evil characters that would fit even my stupid criteria. But again, it's limited, and the complete endgame bosses are male. Star Wars, on the other hand, if we are strictly speaking about the movies, it's rather, well, very bleak. There are basically two female characters, and that's calling Padme a character. There are obviously women there in the story, Anakin's mother, who has a great impact, but all the evil is again Darth Vader, Count Dooku, General Grievous, Emperor Palpatine, Jabba the Hutt, Boba Fett. They are all evil, just evil. They have their stories, of course. Especially Anakin, he has a great arc. But yeah, there are no evil women. As if it was completely impossible to even imagine that in that vast, insanely large population, trillions of people of all races, and fortunately, the extended universe solves that for me, especially Knights of the Old Republic. I can't wait to talk about those two games, especially the second one. I am actually looking forward to replaying it for, I don't know, 15th time, where we get some brilliant evil female characters. Unfortunately for me, as in creating a story, there is this small problem that to write actual real science fiction, I am absolutely nowhere near smart enough to do so. I might be able to pull off some future fiction, but I am honestly more confident and interested in the fantasy setting, so I'll just have to create my own rules, my own history, and constrictions that are not based on ours. I would like to avoid that as plague because I don't want to bring anything, if possible. Obviously, my imagination is lacking to do so, but as little as possible from our world, from our history, because it just doesn't make sense for me to situate the story into a different universe and then use the exact same setting our universe has. It brings out a different issue that I am aware of, and that's that characters should still have limitations and differences based on their, well, gender, but not the exact same I would like to for my story, not the exact same ones we have in our world, because as I've mentioned, there would be no point in situating the story in a different world, different universe than ours. If the very core is the same as ours and just the coat of paint is slightly different, there would be no meaning in doing that. And that's about the best summary I think I can put this into, this issue of our world influencing my imaginary world. I would like to distance myself as far as my meager abilities allow me to, because, well, I want to escape really bad. It's going to be definitely hard to create these rows in a way that would satisfy my criteria, but still create distinct differences between men and women in my stories. I am not entirely sure that I'm even remotely capable of doing so, but it's my aspiration, it's what I would like to achieve, and, well, now I wanted to go back, look at Asterix for a bit, and then I'll end this video for today. And next time will be a new project. So, well, the Asterix, I've already mentioned this, but this is again, just to repeat, I first encountered Asterix when I was very small. I was, I don't know, few years old, single digits definitely, and it's been rather influential on me. We used to watch it with my entire family, and back then we just had some VHS, barely even that, barely even a color TV, because when I was growing up, electronics were rather expensive, and it took a while before they appeared in my family, and Asterix was definitely one of the things that I interacted with almost on a daily basis, including the comics section that I've started these new project videos with, and some of them obviously left a bigger mark than the others. Some of them I don't even remember now. Some of them I even just didn't want to cover, even though I have them uh, still somewhere. They are there with layers of dust on them, but their stories, it was noticeable when one of the authors unfortunately passed away. I did not notice that back then because again I was small child. I think I kind of grew up out of Asterix when I was around 15, 16, so I did not really have much time and never really put much effort into thinking about it, but there is difference between the tones that the previous author set and when the single one took over. And I do have to say that I would probably, if I would start now, I would stick to the few first volumes and then definitely movies like Mission Cleopatra and 12 Tasks of Asterix, because those two definitely left the largest mark on me. If we are speaking movies, the animated movies, there were quite a few of them coming out in my country, and I do remember them quite well because they were just this fun, uninvasive relaxation, escapism that allowed for an hour and some time of just pure joy. I was definitely a big Asterix fan. I don't know why he spoke to me more than the quick-witted, smart, and cunning Asterix, but he just somehow resonated with me. Maybe it was a foreshadowing of my later years. I think I am more inclined towards the physical way of settling things rather than the cunnings. I again spent the last 15 years working out and practicing a martial art, so that might have had some sort of impact. But for me, Obelix was definitely the character that I felt more connected to, and I loved how he had this habit of picking up Roman soldier helmets and stacking them up into a large column. Absolutely can say that Asterix and Obelix brought a lot of joy into my life and is definitely something that I'm glad I talked about. I don't think it's comparable to, for example, my Neverwinter Nights obsession slash nostalgia, but it's definitely up there with some other childhood experiences that I'm looking back at fondly, and might even come back to it at least just for one video, short visit. And that's it for today's video and for Asterix, at least for now. I have the next one ready, and I am going to preface it again with some more antagonist talk. I still have more garbage to say, so I am quite ready to talk some more and hopefully actually improve my English, since the positivity thing is definitely working. So we'll see about the English portion if that works as well. And that's it for today.